original Titanfall was everyone's first jump into true next-gen gameplay. It was the first game really built up with new generation hardware in mind. Developed by Respawn Entertainment, a company that was formed with their former Infinity Ward developers, those are the creators of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2, they left abruptly to seek more creative freedom. Titanfall seeks to reinvent the shooter. It was the first futuristic shooter to truly nail the movement system and novelty of futuristic warfare, and competing shooters are still trying to copy it to this day. Launching on PC and Xbox One, the game was highly praised for its fluidity and tight controls. Unfortunately, many issues also plagued the original game as well. Launching on PS4 gave a big hit to the sales considering PlayStation was very far ahead of Xbox One at the time. Lack of private matches at launch, an unfair burn card system, no single-player campaign, and segregating the player base through DLC damaged the original's longevity. But still, Titanfall was really a diamond in the rough at its time in terms of shooters, with Call of Duty Ghosts having a poor reception from its fanbase and Battlefield 4 dealing with the scars of its poor launch. Titanfall 2 aims to fix a lot of the issues from the original. Launching on the two major consoles this time around is sure to increase its player base, and directly addressing issues like the burn card system are probably going to make returning players happy. Planning to make every single bit of DLC content free is also going to attract in many players as well, seeing as a lot of games these days require $120 to get the full amount of content, and Titanfall 2 is giving it all to you for $60. Titanfall 2 launches in an already extremely crowded holiday season. Does it offer up enough to be worth your purchase, or does it suffer from the same issues as the original? Titanfall 1 was infamous at its launch for having a terrible, sorry excuse for a campaign mode. It was literally just normal multiplayer matches with a talking head occasionally appearing in the top right corner of the screen. That was it. It was actually kind of funny how unimpressive and unexciting it was. Titanfall 2 already takes a step up though from its predecessor by introducing an entirely fledged out single player campaign, which is much better than just talking heads in the top right corner. The story follows wannabe pilot Jack Cooper and his veteran Titan BT. A series of events early on in the campaign lead Jack to becoming the militia force's newest pilot, and to BT becoming his new Titan companion. Both characters are really likable from the beginning of the game. Jack Cooper, aside from having a really generic name, is also a sarcastic comic throughout the campaign, which I could relate to pretty well. But the real humor comes from BT, who throughout the campaign is often misunderstanding common human phrases and sarcasm. Think like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy for reference. The banter between the two makes up for most of the campaign's slow moments and definitely had me smiling throughout the entire thing.
I think somebody's in love.
A human's concept of love requires admiration, attraction, devotion, and respect. Conclusion: I am 50% in love.
One thing I did notice about the campaign is that it does feel extremely Halo-esque. This is most definitely not a bad thing to me, as most would agree that Halo is probably the pinnacle when it comes to FPS single-player modes, but the level design and enemy AI traits just give me very similar vibes to Halo throughout the entire thing, and I wouldn't be surprised if Respawn took some design cues from Halo in the process. And again, this isn't a knock on the game at all. Titanfall 2 does some really interesting things that I haven't seen in other FPS story modes, and so I'm praising it for this if anything. The most interesting gameplay mechanic of the campaign is definitely, the star of Titanfall, the Titan mechanics. While the Titan sections can sometimes feel a little bit on rails, the game always gives it the option to exit BT and continue on foot as Jack, which I thought was kinda cool. Throughout the campaign, you can find new Titan loadouts for BT to completely change his weapons and abilities. Most of these are the Titan loadouts in multiplayer, but some are completely unique and may give a slight hint to players as to what future DLC might be like for multiplayer. One thing I did kinda notice is that there are a couple sections of the campaign where the game does forcibly take away BT away from you, which isn't really strange to me. I imagined that would happen before I played the campaign. I saw that coming, but it is kind of predictable that those sort of situations do occur. Titanfall 2's campaign is a refreshing FPS story mode. After the first game failed on all fronts in regards to story, Titanfall 2 goes above and beyond what I expected. I personally don't even think all games even need a single-player campaign as long as the multiplayer can deliver enough content and replayability to warrant the purchase in the first place, but Titanfall 2 still delivers on both fronts marvelously. Titanfall 2's multiplayer is the star of the show when it comes to this game. Titanfall 1 multiplayer was enjoyable in its own regard, but as mentioned earlier, it missed key marks that could have made it great. I'm glad to say Titanfall 2's multiplayer succeeds for the most part where the first title fell flat. The controls of Titanfall 2 are the tightest of any game I've ever played in recent years. This is extremely important for such a fast-paced shooter with an extremely quick time to kill. You always feel like you have full control over what you are doing and where you are going. While the movement system of the pilots can be a bit overwhelming at first, with practice you begin to perfect it down until you can traverse around every single map in a record time. This goes for new players too. I really think the movement system is easy to adapt to and easy to learn. Titanfall 2 adds a brand new element into the equation of movement with the grapple hook. You can customize your pilot to take an invisibility cloak, tracker darts, temporary health and speed boost, or other interesting gadgets in the battle, but the grapple hook is easily my favorite. It is already extremely rewarding to chain together movement options in Titanfall 2. grapple hook just adds another layer to the equation that makes it even more enjoyable. Pilot customization is leagues better than the first game. Something the first game suffered from that not many FPSs do actually is a lack of weapons. There are actually very few weapon options in Titanfall 1, and even less were actually viable. Titanfall 2 expands the arsenal considerably, not just in weapons, but also in abilities and character customization. Titanfall 2 includes a feature I wish more class-based shooters adopted, and that's customizing your loadouts in the game. It helps you better adapt to the situation in-game, and lets you finish up that one class you couldn't because the game started while you were still editing. Other FPSs don't do this, I imagine, because they don't want you to make a specific class in the game to directly counter the opponent. Making a class with a rocket launcher, for example, in Call of Duty because the enemy keeps getting air-based kill streaks. Titanfall 2, though, isn't really a game based around countering an opponent's playstyle, and instead opts for the player to find what they enjoy and succeed with that kit, which is why this feature is included, I imagine. The burn card system is also completely removed from the game, thank God. For those who missed out on the first game, burn cards were essentially one-time use cards that when used would give you a certain advantage in game. This could be anywhere from buffed weapons, to a map hack that reveals the location of every enemy on the map, to respawning right where you died to exact revenge, to starting off the game with a Titan already ready to drop. The last of which was easily the most game-breaking, since earning your Titan at a steady rate to your performance seemed to be the main dynamic of the original game. Thankfully, Titanfall 2 replaces this with a much more calm and fair system called Boost. These are basically just a single kill streak that you can select at the beginning of a round to earn throughout the match. These are much less overpowered than burn cards and are a welcome addition, since it is nice to receive another little treat before your Titan is ready to drop in. Titan customization, however, is completely overhauled. The first game suffered from there only being about 2 viable Titan loadouts, since you had full customization over your chassis, abilities, and weapons. Titanfall 2 instead restricts weapons, ability, and chassis to your Titan upon selecting it, instead opting to give you 3 perk trees per unique Titan, one tree of which features unique perks for that specific Titan. At first I questioned whether restricting player options was actually the best move for Respawn to take here, but once I got the game into my own hands and tried it for myself, I definitely loved the new system. While seemingly restricting player options at first, it actually expands options due to increasing viability between all the Titans so players can pick what they prefer and master each accordingly. Also, Sword Titan is awesome. Giant robot with a giant sword. Enough said. Titanfall 2 is a very beautiful game. While not getting to Battlefield 1 or Star Wars Battlefront levels that DICE is able to achieve, that's definitely not necessary to make the game great. All that really needs to be said about the graphics of Titanfall 2 is that they certainly get the job done. Definitely one of the better looking shooters on the market. In my experience playing through the campaign, and from my multiplayer experience this past week, the game never suffers from any performance hiccups either. This is rather impressive given the scale of Titanfall 2 with players, giant mechs, and AI enemies all roaming the map at once. The consistency of the game world really lets each map feel alive, as you'll never know when you're going to find a couple little AI grunts having a mini battle of their own around the corner. One thing I did notice in the game's multiplayer is that a lot of the maps definitely look visually similar to a Titanfall 1 map. In fact, I could find a Titanfall 1 counterpart for nearly every single map in Titanfall 2. While this isn't really a major issue, it definitely made me want to try to run a few routes I remember from the first game at first, because my mind involuntarily thought we were playing on a different map. This is really the only criticism that I can come up with regarding Titanfall 2's presentation. It really wasn't that big of a deal after a couple hours getting used to the new maps. Titanfall 2 is just one of those games where it plays just like the scripted cinematic trailer. There's lots of moments where you'll completely and utterly fail at doing something cool, but you keep playing for those moments where you get 2 quick kills, calling your Titan on the other side of a building, sprint through the hallways avoiding enemy gunfire from pilots and AI enemies alike, then leap into your Titan's cockpit and proceed to wipe out everyone who just attempted to take you down. Titanfall 2 also nails the post-launch model. While almost every other game on the market is charging for a season pass and separating its player base through map packs, Titanfall 2 is instead opting to give every single player every bit of DLC content completely free. This will keep the community together, keep players coming back, and more importantly, saving all of our wallets. Titanfall 2 is one of my favorite shooters of the past few years. It improves in every regard from the first game. Some might say the game is just Titanfall 1.5, and I would understand and maybe somewhat agree with you with that criticism, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think being better refined Titanfall 1 is necessarily a bad thing. Titanfall 1 was a game that fell just short of the mark. Titanfall 2 manages to hit that mark the first one missed, and then go above and beyond. Titanfall 2 was just a great game, and if you got money to spare this holiday season, I definitely recommend picking it up and trying it out. Alright guys, thank you for watching this Source Gaming review. If you guys want to hear more from me, you can check out my channel in the description. I'm ConnorEatsPants. I do some other stuff that's not reviews. Pretty much everything that's not reviews, I do reviews here now. So that's that. But what matters more than me is subscribing to Source Gaming right here and going to the site. You will get the best not only Smash and Nintendo content, but now all gaming content too. We're trying to expand. It's going to be great, guys. We appreciate all you that watch the videos. Leave a comment, subscribe, as already said. Just do everything. We appreciate you guys. We love to hear from you. We can't wait to hear more. We'll see you guys next time.